maybe not make it in.
He's in the lobby. Nope. Oh. That was good.
Yay!
Are we
All right. Are we live? Are we ready?
Oh.
Hello.
We did
it. We did a
Hi,
whole year.
welcome to 1 year of
Yay.
Endgame.
Hooray! Emojis.
Yay.
Ghoster, do a spin while the music's playing.
I've seen the peace, the light in eyes.
And
I
dance
can't
camera
believe it's been a
monkey.
year.
Holy emojis.
I mean, it's crazy.
So, in that year, the collapse hasn't happened. Singularity
That's
hasn't
transcended.
happened. Yeah, but we haven't
That's
transcended.
disappointing.
So we haven't hit the end game yet. That's why we're still here after a year. I guess that's
Oh,
okay.
you gotta rename the show now.
I know,
Oh,
when is
man.
it going to get redundant or like repetitive? Like, when are we going to have to stop asking the question because it's become clear?
That there's never going to be an end? Mm.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, guys, there have been 15 Final Fantasies. So I think you're
That's
That is a
true.
very good point.
Maybe when you
Oh
start
my
offering
God.
microtransactions.
Yes. So yeah. So. Oh my God. Well, thank you guys for coming too. Like, you guys are the reason that
Yeah,
the show
thanks.
exists. You know, all your thoughts and discussions, like, you know, I think, and we're going to get into, so a lot of people don't know, but Nomono actually started Endgame way before Endgame started in VR chat. So a year ago, you started Endgame in VR chat. And before that, it was a podcast.
Yeah.
So what was the impetus? Like, what led you to start the podcast?
I teach at a high school, and so like I'm surrounded by young people, and I thought it was like a great opportunity to do like a podcast that was sort of like intergenerational, where we had like me and another older teacher working with these young people and sort of talking about the future, because like I kind of felt like we were on such different playing fields, or like it was hard for us to see eye to eye in a lot of areas, and so like it seemed like a conversation worth having. And they were not invested. Like, the young people had not really thought about the future in the same way that I had. And like when I would drop little things like, it's possible, like I wouldn't make a promise, but it's possible you might be almost immortal. Like, you might live for an extremely long time. And like that was unacceptable to them. Like, a lot of the ideas and the stuff that we talk about here, they found it sort of, too far-fetched.
Interesting.
That's interesting. I feel like it would be the other way around, because like they all, they're coming into a world that's like full of possibilities, right? Or I guess not.
You would think so. Like, we have a special sample here because like I think a lot of the people that we meet here in VR are sort of the dreamers and the people who are like really open to the fringe and whatever the next thing is going to be. So like,
yeah,
that's not necessarily the mainstream. Not everybody's psyched about the future.
Ha! Nice. Including me. I'm not psyched about the
Joke's on you.
Yeah, I'm pretty pessimistic, so it's ironic.
That's a good point.
Right? Yeah, but like, I guess also another thing that differentiates students from us. I mean, I feel like most people, I guess the average age in this audience is probably a little bit older than a high school student, although we do have
I assume,
high
but I
school
don't
students
know.
who add a lot. Yeah,
we've never done a poll or found out who these people are.
That's true. We don't know the
Interesting.
demographics. Not for sure, anyway.
But that's the whole
Well,
point. Like, that was so when I transitioned from like doing it at school, where it was this specifically about like the older and the younger, people. Like, I came here and it all suddenly became much more about diversity. And from the first episode, it's like, well, I don't want to run the entire show, right? Like, I want to get a conversation going and then take advantage of the fact that we're in sort of like a big safe space where everyone can come join us and anyone can pitch in. And so like from the start, the idea was for it to like, to get a group discussion going, to like, I don't know, to figure something out. I want to talk a little bit about today about like, what are we trying to figure out? What is the end game?
Yeah.
But I'm looking to hear from other people.
With the podcast before, did you meet that goal? Like, did you were you and the younger people like able to, did you disagree and then come to agreement or come to common ground eventually?
I guess not. That's a good question. Like, I mean, you know, a little bit every time, I guess. Like, probably like they pull me over a little bit towards maybe some of their thinking because I'm not exposed. I still don't know what young people are doing. I don't understand. Like, we've done episodes about memes and all these other things, and I still don't fucking get it. But like, I was a little bit closer, you know, when they were helping me, and now I'm somewhere else with everyone here.
Yeah.
And yeah, come to common ground. How do you think they compare? Like, do you
Wait,
see
sorry,
as
my
much
headset's being
Disagreement? Like,
glitchy. Say that again.
yeah,
I think that
sorry,
all
mine
happened,
mine
yeah.
glitched out too for a second.
Yeah, we all
Someone
had
did
that.
an avatar thing.
Don't do an avatar thing.
Yeah, don't do an avatar thing.
Stop
Lower
it.
your draw calls, please. Yeah, okay, so do we disagree with each other as much as you guys disagreed with each other during that initial podcast?
No,
phase?
interestingly, but I wonder if that's just because we're not oppositional. Like, not everyone here is pretty calm, and I feel like on our Discord, like there are theoretically like, you know, our debates, I guess, but like I've never seen it get heated. Like, it always seems like everyone is here with the intention of having their point of view changed, right? Like they're open-minded enough to, like, you know, I think they're lucky and they feel like grateful that they found this group of people to sort of communicate with, so they don't necessarily start attacking them or, like, you know, get upset when their ideas get challenged.
I feel that way.
Yeah, I think that's unique about this community is that the diversity of opinions and views and the age. And also, by the way, I do have an answer to the age, at least from that experiment that I ran where I recruited people from VR chat to download that app, PsychLab VR, and and fill it out. One of those things was demographics. Yeah, we got like 600. Aha! So I have some demographics. 600 people. So 600 people filled it out, so not just VR chat, but VR users, and it was a completely normal distribution of age. There was no younger or older. So normal means that there's an equal, well, I guess actually I'm not sure what the population level is, but for this, so it might not technically be normal, but same number of people in each category. So 12 to 17, and not 12 to 17, 17 to like 22, all that kind of stuff. So I think it was like 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50, and 50 to 60. And from 20 to 50, it was even. And then maybe on the, you know, it kind of tailed off on the younger and the older side. It kind of tailed off a little bit.
That's cool. So we're all in here talking with each other in a setting that normally, I mean, usually, the social interaction is pretty stratified in most contexts.
Yeah. When else does that happen?
Can I offer a quick comment from Sarah on the show?
Yeah.
Come to the middle.
Okay. So Sarah just mentioned that while Endgame perpetually seems to be an optimistic approach to where we are heading, I appreciate the hope implied, but should we possibly plan for the worst anyway? Something to think about.
We've had whole episodes about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like tons of our episodes are about the imminent like problems and or collapse. So I mean,
Psych is like a prepper. Like, he's ready for it all to fall apart.
Yeah.
I mean, I do have a water filter and excess soil lamp for about 2 months.
You have your bunker.
2 months of food, water filter, flashlight, just some basics.
One of my most favorite episodes, so like recently, was the Keelan of the Singularity one, where we talked about all the problems and then talked about how to solve them, which is really the only you know, practical way to approach pessimism, right? Because like there's the only, if you talk about pessimism and don't do anything about it, then you're just like the only end game of that is despair. So if you talk about pessimism and then, you know, try to find solutions, then that's the way to build. That's the way to grow. And so like I feel like we have that as a focus.
Yeah. What do you guys want to do with this opportunity, like the end game? Like, I wonder what that means to you. Like, now that you came in later, so like I got this little thing going. Like, why did you decide to join? Like, what brought you to the end game, and what does that mean to you?
I guess for me it was I felt like I watched the first episode, so I joined I think after the third episode, like for the fourth episode, and I watched it and I saw that this special type of conversation was happening in VR chat that I crave, that like brings me to VR chat all the time. And it's like these serious conversations about topics that are going to impact humanity. So anything ranging from technology to psychology to, I mean, the future. I think these core topics are all really, really important. And here we have this diversity of views. So I remember I've been in VR chat for 4 years and have these amazing conversations with people. And this show, I feel like, tries to elicit and facilitate as much of that conversation as we can for each episode. And so that's what really drew me to it. And I didn't realize I'd be so pessimistic, but I am trying to become I am more optimistic. I think you made a really interesting point. You know, it's been a year. It's like a year ago. I probably, like right now, I feel like the next year something pretty bad might happen, but maybe I felt that way a year ago, and maybe that's just part of uh, speculation on the future and things like that. So I do,
So
yeah.
can I ask a personal, like, kind of I hope this is an okay question. Like,
Yeah.
if you think that the collapse is imminent, and if you are like honestly preparing for the worst, then what is the point? What is the point of all this, of like meeting with each other and conversing with each other and working towards, you know, establishing communication with each other if it's all going to go away?
That's a good question. I guess there's this thing called tolerance of uncertainty. It's a spectrum that people range on in terms of being able to tolerate a lot of uncertainty or only a little bit in different situations. And so I'm tolerating a lot of uncertainty with the future. I don't know for sure that it's going to collapse and things are going to go bad, but I do know that if it does, I'd like to have some things to be prepared to max. I think that there's a high enough chance that having a food supply or something like that would be helpful, that it's worth, for me, it's actually, I guess I'm tolerating uncertainty maybe less because I'm more anxious about it. So then I buy some food and then I'm more comfortable about it because I'm like, all right, well, if this happens, yeah.
So it sounds like you're just prepping for both eventualities. Like
Yeah,
either
yeah.
when either one happens, you're gonna be like in a good position either way.
Hopefully. Yeah.
That
But what about
just
you?
seems like a what about
For
me?
the end game? Well, for joint, like Nomono's question.
Man, I understand pessimism, and that was actually something like when I first got started with Endgame, like I had to kind of learn to kind of be around that and accept it, because I had come from a very, very, very optimistic place, and being surrounded by some people with pessimistic ideas and kind of defeatist attitudes was pretty hard on me early on. And so I had a hard time with it at first, and I had to come to a balance. And I feel I have come to a balance. I feel worried about the world all the time. Like every time I check Twitter, I'm like, God damn it, I'm scared for us. And I am scared for us. But man, like deep in my heart, like I feel that it's very, very possible that we are destined for a true transcendence, like a paradigm shift that will fundamentally alter the way we understand our own existence and the way we understand our consciousness. Sorry, you were weird.
He was doing a
you were
little
dancing.
Oh
And
God,
Nomono's like,
no.
Calm down. Calm
You're
down.
okay
Oh
now.
man. Windows Mixed Reality, sponsored by Windows Mixed Reality. Yeah.
Anyway, so like my leanings are towards pretty radical, like sort of techno shamanistic type of persuasions. Even though in practical like mindset, I am very worried about us. So I have both.
Okay.
How do we get there then? Because like I guess some of the worries I'm trying to figure out what to do with this conversation and how can we make it better, and I'm hoping other people are going to have ideas. But like I exaggerate when I talk about you as a prepper, right? I sort of make it a little bit more extreme than reality because I'm a little bit familiar with like the collapse subreddit and like that stuff. And you see
Me
the people
too,
who are on
trust
the
me.
extreme, and it's like, yeah, her question to you is like, if you're prep, what if you're prep, you have a bunker and you have a gun and you have your food supply and you're ready for everyone else to die except for you? Like, my question to those people is, okay, so what's the point? Like when the world collapses and you're part of the 0.1% that survive, who cares? Like you put a lot of effort into being alone in a wasteland. Like it seems pointless to me. And so it seems like we should basically be concentrating on the transcendence, some kind of techno shamanistic destiny where everything's like, it seems like we should pour all our focus into that if we're going to get there, right? But we don't do it that often.
I don't know. I don't want to be pessimistic, but I do have an answer to that question. But I don't know if I should go there because it's pretty dark. But I don't know.
Well, let's hear it. It's Endgame.
I'm not trying to be that. I am somewhat optimistic, but I think that it's less likely that you're gonna emerge from a bunker and like everyone is dead. I think over time we're gonna start to see, especially with climate change, more people are going to die, and it might be in third world countries, but then things might continue to get worse, and it might be people in our own countries and things like that, from extreme climate events and stuff like that. Like that's a very real, visceral feeling of fear that I have, and it's not like I'm ending up in the bunker alone. It's more like I'm surviving this with a group of other people who are able to survive it, kind of thing.
You know, I really feel like those two attitudes could work together very well. Maybe not in a way that lets everybody survive, but if climate change causes, the countries to fall into the ocean and causes freezing and causes, we're going to have a common opponent then to turn all of our energies toward helping each other, towards surviving with each other, towards learning how to coexist with each other. I don't know, it seems possible that the two could work towards a positive end, even if bad things happen, and unfortunately they probably will. Like a lot of the statistics say that climate change is inevitable at this point, and there's all we can do is like stall it a little bit or something, which we never had that climate change episode, did we?
We did, I think.
No,
I think we did one. Or we did collapse.
Yeah, we just did collapse. So we need to get an expert in here.
We do.
We want to get an expert in here to talk about climate change at some point. But
that's
I will try to do that.
more experts.
I said I would do that. I'll try to do it at some point.
Oh, okay, yeah. Lousy, get on that. Now everybody knows. Now everybody in this room has heard you, so it has to happen.
But also,
so can I suggest a question that I'm curious about on this topic? So I would actually like to ask everyone, maybe thumbs up or thumbs down, do a poll or something. So for me, I've already decided that like if the world does collapse, like say there's nuclear war, or some cataclysm wipes out the large majority of the population, like I would like to be wiped out. I would prefer that. Want to just be over quick, like it's done. I don't, I'm not stuck in this wasteland where I'm like struggling to survive. Essentially, like I can't hunt. I can't like. I don't know anything about living off the land. I'm used to my comfort. So I'm like, hey, if we're gonna like go into Mad Max world, if we're gonna go into Mad Max world, just kill me and then I'm out. Yep. So I was curious. Thumbs up.
So this is would people do it? So thumbs up and thumbs down is would people?
So if we go to post-apocalyptic, thumbs up if you want to live despite the destruction of the world, or thumbs down if you would prefer to go with the group. So
thumbs up are the survivors.
Yes.
Yeah, thumbs up for survivors, thumbs down for those who are like.
So it looks like we have about three or four.
I think you're wrong. I think all these people who are giving a thumbs up have an unrealistic.
You're gonna be like the people driving the cars in the desert, like screaming at each other.
Okay,
cool.
So
all right. So anyway,
each of them.
This is.
Hold on. We're getting a lot of crosstalk. Shush.
So
Psych is the one
basically,
who gets to talk right now.
So basically, this is what this part of the episode, basically, and thanks Lau for introducing this, is that basically, yes. And by the way, also we did not thank Lau and Ghoster, who have been like, key parts of the Lau's built this entire world. Ghoster's been streaming it for
responsible for all this.
So many episodes. So you guys are amazing.
Yeah, thank you, Ghoster.
And it's. You guys, make the show. So basically what we're going to do is go through some topics quickly. And so I might kind of rush us through a little bit because we have a lot of topics to get through. And we want to paint a picture democratically by you guys voting thumbs up or thumbs down of what the world is going to look like in the future. What is our end game going to be? And so we're going to go through topics. So I think the first one, so first we just did, okay, so a lot of us are going to try to survive. So we're going to try to survive the future no matter what it is. So we have to agree kind of that the democratic process, even if you don't quite agree, that becomes something. So if you have a strong view about one of these topics, come to the center, present the case, and try to help us, try to present an idea that is kind of two-sided that helps us to better shape the future in a different way. And I think it'll be easier with a specific example. So I just want to start off, I guess, and it can be a question. Yeah.
So we're going to construct like a vision of the future, kind of this collaborative like world that might happen. Are we trying to agree or trying to come to consensus on what we think is most likely or what we want to happen, or what are we aiming for?
That's a good question.
I think most likely. We're trying to predict the future.
Okay. So we're trying to be realistic.
Yeah. Okay. Trying to predict. So the first thing I have, and I'm just gonna basically write a small, by the end I'll read what we have, so for example, the beginning of our future fortune is we're going to try to survive, like whatever it is, we're going to try to survive. So I guess,
all right, cool,
I have a question. Okay. Do people think, and it's hard to get a dichotomous question, but like for climate change, I'm curious how people and the last thing is 150 years from now, that's when we're thinking.
150 years.
Yeah, not 100 years, which we've just, because, yeah, it's like a lifetime. So not like your lifetime, but really 150 years from now. Where are we going to be?
So wait, when you ask about climate change, the problem is like, where do you divide it in half, right? Because it's hard to go like everybody's dead or it's been completely overcome. So like, where can we find some midpoint to like separate ourselves? That's a hard one.
Let's do it like, let's say, okay, are we going to have an ice age, or what is because it's like global warming was what it was called at first, but I know that some people have talked about the threat of another ice age because we're going to block off our atmosphere so badly that we won't get as much energy or something like we need the science here.
I guess it depends on how you define this global warming and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
A lot of people think it's all man-made. I don't. I think 10% of it is man-made, 90% of it is the planet's evolution. Look what happened to the dinosaurs. They had the Earth every so many million years. It basically refreshes itself.
So
it'll go into an ice age.
So I just want to say that we all have different views of maybe the causes, but I think that's why we should focus on 150 years from now. So let me just try to paint, and this is, you say thumbs up, but I think what's easy is that I describe. We want to try to describe like a day in the life of 150 years from now more than the causes and the more things like that. So my day in the life, my proposal for this, and like, so when we get to blockchain and Bitcoin, someone can come up and say something about like, okay, you're going to be using all of your transactions. So I'll give the example with climate change that I think 150 years from now, we're going to have to like completely change the way that we have power and things like that. I think a lot of adverse climate events like hurricanes and blizzards and things like that are going to become a lot more normal. We're not going to be able to live in the coastal cities anymore. We're going to have to move inland, and there's going to be a lot of scarcity about food and things like that we may or may not adapt to, but it's going to be like it's going to be pretty crazy to go outside. And I actually think virtual reality will play a much bigger role in people feeling like they're able to go outside. So that is one. So if you think that that's like, I guess it's hard to say like whether that exact thing will happen.
We're going to summarize it with just like destruction of coastal cities, and prohibitive weather. So you can't, for the most part, you can't go outside. You can't enjoy the weather. Probably you could survive with the weather, in houses and stuff. But for the most part, the weather's prohibitive and you can't live near the ocean.
So yeah, thumbs up or thumbs down if that's.
The other side is that things stay mostly the same as they are now.
Yeah,
the ocean's gonna come and get you anyway.
See two.
Well,
thumbs down. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I'm seeing.
So thumbs up. People think
thumbs
that it'll
up wins.
decline.
So can I just make one quick comment too? This is super quick,
yeah.
But I just want to make sure that we're clear. Like the science of climate change being man-made is proven. There's not doubt All legitimate scientists agree that it is man-made and it is happening. So no disrespect to Catapult, but there is no debate. So
I appreciate that, and I really think we should have a discussion about it. But I really think we need someone who has some expertise on the matter to come in, because there are reasons that it's said to be man-made that I don't know the reasons for that. Off the top of my head.
I think what Claude just said too. However it's caused, it's what's going to happen 150 years from now is exactly the same. And I mean, I agree I agree that it's man-made, but we shouldn't get into that conversation right now. I think we want to do a whole episode on it. So okay, so right now we're going to survive.
To argue against the climate change being man-made, there's the carbon cycle that you can read into.
Yes, but there, even that, it's not.
We can put it on our Discord, climate change, and then people can start talking about it there. So then we can keep the conversation
let's move on.
going.
So we agree that the weather's going to be bad in 150 years. Weather's going to be bad. All right, good. What's the next one?
Blockchain. What is the situation? Does anyone want to come up and kind of think like how is blockchain going to be 150 years from now? Yeah, come up, Xerxes. Yeah.
So I think like if you were to bring up the two sides of everything on each of these questions, I think that we are going to go to a cashless form of society one way or another. It's just either going to be, is the ledger going to be centralized or is it going to be decentralized? And especially as we spend more time in virtual worlds, the digitization of our currency, this is going to be where we're spending our time. Well, if it's my view, this is where we're going to spend our time and it's where we're going to find value. So we'll be trading within here, and some form of cashless currency is going to exist.
I feel like we have a question here that's really too relevant to skip at this point, which is, and it seems so related, about universal basic income as well. Because if we're going to have a universal basic income, the blockchain in that environment is going to be a little different than the blockchain in a sort of capitalistic, scarcity-based economy we have right now.
I think I like two questions. I think one is the blockchain. Maybe we can do two. Like one is the block. I mean, I guess they are inherently connected, but like.
Right, like I can't vote on blockchain unless we've already voted on universal basic income. Because I think it'll play.
Let's have a quick vote on if people think there's going to be money in 150 years. Is there still going to exist some form of the economy? Thumbs up if yes, thumbs down if you think Star Trek. No one believes in Star Trek, dude.
Well, cashless society. What do we mean cashless society? Is thumbs up? Are we talking about like?
I'm not saying cashless. I'm saying no money. Get rid of it. But no one else. No one says that's going to happen.
I mean, I'd love that. Like go post-scarcity, go all the way. No money at all, huh?
I think cash might be a good 150 years from now. Like, are we using any cash? Is cash in existence?
What do you mean by cash? Like physical shit?
Yeah, are we using all credit cards, all like biometric kind of stuff?
We don't live in the physical world anymore. In 150 years, you haven't gotten there yet, but we live in the oasis. What does he suggest?
Bottle caps.
Yeah, we'll use bottle caps.
We'll use bottle caps.
So wait, can I put that down as cashless society? Okay, yeah, Shani.
I think you need to start clarifying if you're going to live in a semi-utopic or a dystopic society in 150 years, because if you're talking about, as far as blockchain, you could be thinking when there's F6 tornadoes and huge hurricanes and floods and disasters and connections are bad. Are you going to have a society where blockchain is literally keeping the environments together, where Chicago and Dallas don't communicate all day because they don't have a direct connection? So are you shooting data every once in a while saying, hey, blockchain update, this is where money is right now, okay, we're finally getting it, 2 days later, let's update everybody else so now everybody has it, right? Because you're in an environment where you might not have 24/7 connections anymore.
So we're saying that's going to be more reliable on a decentralized system than a centralized system, right?
Exactly.
People see that as a potential up or down for that kind of a painted.
Could you
Let's see, up for the blockchain?
Yeah.
So are we?
Will be around.
Yeah. Can you want to?
Yeah. So we are going to depend. So upvote if you think that the blockchain will be dependent on blockchain and decentralized technologies to manage all of our finances and economy, because our infrastructure will be unreliable enough that we can't rely on centralized anymore. Or will centralization be still the main norm?
It's interesting that
and remember
you guys
to only vote once, by the way.
Ooh.
Yeah. That it doesn't.
Okay. Yeah. Let's do it one more time.
Cool.
Let's do it once, because yeah, people. Okay, let's do it once, and everyone do right on the count of 3, thumbs up or thumbs down for that situation.
Oh, do a countdown. Great.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
Whew.
Ooh, it seems
was
pretty.
cool to see it all at once.
Yeah.
It was a little even, but I think it was a little bit skewed towards upvote.
Okay. I think are we okay accepting that, guys? Is that a consensus that upvote?
Shaney,
Okay.
it's so hard for me to imagine that future you're talking about where we get disconnected at some point, right? Because we've been moving towards connection like so strongly that to imagine at some point that's going to go away or we're going to lose it, that's hard for me to believe. Like,
but
I mean,
like
you're right. There might be disasters and
yeah.
So think about Puerto Rico.
But think about how much effort we're going to put. Like, you know, if we actually cared about everyone, think about how much effort we would put into getting everyone on a permanent grid. You know, like
the question: are we going to care about everyone?
Yes, Phil.
I would like to make a point. I think the technology is going to get better in communication. There is still a physical limit called the speed of light in case we ever expand outside of Earth. I mean, the light lag to Mars can be 10 minutes and to Jupiter a long while. So I think a decentralized system will work better once we expand like big.
That's a good next one.
Are we going to be off of Earth at that point?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, Phil, that's great. So, okay, do
Yeah,
you want
thank
your
you.
point to be, Phil, do you want your, so people have to vote up or down. So do you believe that we're going to be off Earth? First, let me
We're gonna
ask
have
Phil,
colonized
so we know what the
colonized
statement
other-
is.
Yeah, well, we
because
have
someone can
colonized
say
other
if you,
bodies in the solar system.
yeah, and if you think not, then the statement can be, we won't be off Earth in 150 years, and then thumbs up will mean we won't be. So you let us know. What do you think? In 150 years,
What do
are
you
we
mean
going
by
to...
off Earth?
So
The
are we going to
colonized. If
colonize...
people- Yeah, people are living off of the Earth
Thumbs up
regularly.
if we have colonized, and thumbs down
Well,
if we
I'm
haven't.
asking Phil first what
think.
they think, and then we'll vote off of the statement. So, you know what I'm saying? So,
So,
what do you think? Do you think we'll colonize?
I think 150 years isn't quite enough to establish our like orbital infrastructure all the way. So we might have like a mining station here or there in the asteroid belt. We have a scientific research station on Mars, and we have like scientific research going to the outer planets. But then I don't think we'll have like dome cities on Mars or established like large populations outside of the Earth.
So, like, will citizens be able to decide if they want like a homesteader life on Mars? Will they be able to like move there if they want, or will that be cut off?
It would
See,
just
if
be
money
Elon
is
Musk
still a
out there
thing,
alone.
I think the richer ones might be able to do it. Because the hardest thing about getting to space is just getting out of our atmosphere. After that, it's just time. So if we got anything like a reliable orbital infrastructure like space elevators, orbital rings, launch groups, if it's cheap to go up into space, probably be doable. This takes time to get there.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm hearing. So I guess the statement that we're voting on, if I can summarize.
Well, but
from
there
what
were a
you just-
couple of like exclamation points. Like maybe before we vote, we should check in to see what points those guys are making.
Okay.
Or do you want to have a vote for per thing? Like I feel like Zircon and somebody else was about to say something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to just cut in about that speed of light thing. There's a phenomenon in quantum mechanics called quantum entanglement, and that's when you have two. Yeah, that's when you have two species of quantum particles intertwine and interact with each other. Then, no matter the distance, the interaction between one particle will interact instantaneously with the other, even if one particle is on Earth and the other is on Mars. And that's one way to sort of like send information faster than light. And that's going to be implemented into quantum computers if they can work out how to use it.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to put it
that's
out.
another question: is are we going to have Ansible technology where we can communicate instantaneously?
So remember that one. Let me ask this one first. Fails. Let's do fails and then Zircon. So fails is basically this idea. So thumbs up if you agree with this. Thumbs down if you don't agree. That basically that we're not in 150 years. We're not quite going to be at the point of colonizing Mars, but we're gonna have mining stations and things like that, and rich people might be able to go there and go there for vacation or maybe build some preliminary places
no
that they're
poor
staying.
people
But it's
on
not.
Mars.
Yeah, we're not like
poor people on
colonizing
Mars.
yet. We're not like flourishing there.
Thumbs down if you think that we will be all over that shit and we'll be on
Or
Mars
we won't
on
be
the
at all.
moon or wherever.
Yeah.
That makes it.
Oh, because we have to decide.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah.
The thing you just pointed out has to be the minimum. Thumbs down has to be we didn't make it.
Yeah.
Right? Are you saying the minimum is 150 years that?
I guess. Yeah, but we can decide. Yeah, whatever we want.
You can have a second vote.
Yeah. Okay. Second vote. So yeah, thumbs up if you think that the situation I just painted is the case.
Guys.
In the...
You gotta do a countdown.
Wait. I'm gonna do countdown. Hold on. Let me get mine out too. All right. 3, 2, 1.
Okay. Can we make it even better then? At that point, can we say it's fully colonized and there are poor people there?
Let's vote. All right. And 3, we're gonna vote. We're gonna vote on fully colonized.
Thumbs up if you think full colonization.
And,
thumbs down if you think it'll just be rich people or mining people.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Oh. It's about half, maybe.
Yeah,
actually, I'm changing mine to down as well.
Oh.
Why?
Because I think I agree that we're not gonna. I think we're gonna be at the.
I think if the weather's bad and we're all gonna focus all our technology on being on Earth, it's possible that we won't spare the resources to take us to Mars, unless it gets so bad that we want to escape to Mars. I don't
So I'm gonna just say that I'll add that we're just that.
There.
I'm gonna say 150 years from now, we're at that point that Phil described, because most people said, and we're around the corner from sometime close in the future colonizing Mars. That we're ramping up to colonizing Mars.
Does that sound all right?
That's a good. Okay.
All right. Do you want to ask them about the faster than light?
Yeah, let's ask the question and do the vote.
So just so you know, as it currently stands, we have successfully used quantum entanglement in encryption. So we've used the way that subatomic particles can entangle with each other to determine whether a message has been transmitted with successful encryption. So we have successfully done that in our technological level. The question is whether we can use entanglement across an arbitrary distance to relay a message. So have a quantum Morse code basically, where you flip some subatomic particles, and then instantaneously the person on the other end also sees those particles flip. A thumbs up if you think we're going to have that type of instantaneous transmission. Thumbs down if you don't think we'll have that in 150 years. And I'll do the countdown. Yeah. So okay, 3, 2, 1, vote.
Really?
Ooh.
I don't think so, man.
You don't think so?
No, there's no way the gamma quadrant and the delta quadrant can commuite with each other instantaneously. That's absurd. And you're all foolish.
Democracy has spoken. So hot. Wait, what's a sentence? What's a short?
50-50,
give me a
honestly.
few words just to describe
we'll
that.
have Ansible technology.
Ants. What's the word? How do you spell
it? ANSIBLE is kind of what it's called in science in a few different pieces of science fiction.
Does that mean we can teleport? What does that mean? In a day?
It just means we can transmit information. Just information,
Okay.
bits of data.
So basically while we're colonizing Mars, we're going to be able to basically text our friends on Earth while we're doing it and video chat with them.
Well, I don't know. Who knows how big the computing power will have to be? We'll have the ability
internet
to
will
send.
stretch. Okay.
Yeah.
Through Ansible technology. Okay. Cool.
Publipa, my understanding is that we can observe the spin of these things, but you can't fucking change the spin, and then that changes the spin of the one over there, right? So that's why we can use it for encryption, but we can't make an adjustment. That seems like it's against physics.
No, that's how they did the encryption thing. Is basically if
That's
someone
absurd.
had interfered. It's not absurd. It's physics. If someone had intercepted the message, they would have observed and changed the spin of the things, and so it would have shown as like it would have changed the way that I read some articles about it. Catapult, do you have a question?
Yeah, well, regarding all this computer stuff and whatnot, the problem is right now is the chip makers or the component makers are being restricted by the speed of light. Until we can break that barrier, things aren't going to get any faster. So what they got to do now, more cores, more threads. That's how they're making things faster. It's not by making the chips any faster. Electricity can only move so fast.
Right. But man, all these companies are totally investing in quantum computing.
We got to do a whole discussion about it because I don't understand it at all and I don't believe it. And so I want to hear from you.
Okay, well, I'll do a report on it. I'll study it really hard and I'll learn it and we can talk about it.
All right.
Oh man. Okay, Little Game Fairy, I saw you at an explanation point 2 before we go on to the next part of our feature.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. First off, can I ask if we're going to go over things like transhumanism, longevity, and
let's do it. Let's do transhumanism.
Yeah,
You ask the question. Like let's do or whichever one you want to start with.
Oh, okay. I was going to talk about the information. I think it's up in the air about quantum tunneling. Whether that can be used to transfer information, but excuse me. But there is another possibility, and that's the Alcubierre warp drive. The technology that uses that is theoretically possible, but I think that it's a very, very long way off technologically. Like in the far distant future. It's one of the ultimate technologies we could create. I think that we will colonize other planets long before we are able to transfer any information faster than the speed of light.
Okay, so you think that the time's off. Okay. So we've already voted on wait, say so you mentioned because we've already voted on this situation, but you mentioned two really important topics we got to vote on. Transhumanism and longevity and what was the third one?
Artificial intelligence.
Oh, AI. Okay.
Let's have you paint the picture of transhumanism for us. So if transhumanism, if there's a shift, what will that look like?
I think it's going to be very small and incremental, but it will happen a little bit every year to the point that 100 years from now, we will look like a totally different species. At first, there's going to be a lot of pushback. People are going to be saying this is wrong or you're playing God. But we already have a few experimental anti-aging medicines that are just starting to hit the market. And we're starting to get a little bit of a handle on the problem. The next step is also we have CRISPR. It's dangerous to do it yourself, but we are already starting to see some therapies. I think that a bunch of technologies will come together to the point that we will solve aging before we solve artificial general intelligence. Oh, sorry.
Wow.
I think that Aubrey de Grey has the best picture of the future. And I think that we will reach biological, not immortality, but not aging before we reach the singularity. And we will slowly acclimate to robotic technology that's better than our biological technology. I think we will slowly replace organs once we find slightly better ones, or we will modify what we have. Then we will get Neuralace probably in the 2040s. I don't think the singularity will happen until 2065 or 2070.
Wow, that's pretty early. So 150 years from now, I hear that you think we solved age. So this is the statement that because we're trying to come up with a.
So let's tackle longevity first. So in 150 years,
are we all going to still be alive?
All right, have we solved no people? I think people born that day. I think people that 150 years from now, will the technology exist so that people who are born in 150 years can live forever?
Forever. No, let's put it at 500.
Or that you didn't say mortality. Actually, yeah, you said you said that technology.
I think that immortality is impossible until we can hop to another universe or save this one, because this one's gonna end unless we can solve dark energy and either go to another universe that's earlier in its lifespan, or find a way to reverse the aging process of the whole universe we're living in. And that's the biggest problem we will ever have to solve.
Okay, we have to do the vote because we got to get through these topics. So wait, so it sounds like we're not immortal. Hold on. The situation's okay. Well, the situation sounds like it's not necessarily mortality. It's that people who are born in 150 years, that we have the technology for them not to age. So it sounds like not necessarily mortality, not necessarily like living forever, but they're not growing older.
So we don't have the same number. Then it's more just
it's more broad. Like
all right.
That we have that technology.
The human population, though.
Ooh, that's a good question. Because we still haven't answered the question about money.
Okay, let's do some quick votes. I'm gonna do some shotgun votes. Okay, so the first one's going to be: do you think that technology will exist in 150 years? That for people not to age. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Oh man.
Okay, and now okay, so yeah.
Follow up. Will the technology exists? Will it be available to everyone? Thumbs up, or just wealthy people? Thumbs down.
Okay, yeah. The 3, 2, 1, go.
That's interesting. So many people don't think so. Man, it's 150 years is a long time.
No, we're saying I think the consensus was it will be available, but not for everyone.
I know. I kind of disagree.
For rich people.
Have it so they can dominate.
Yes.
Okay, so it will have technology that
Altered
can
Carbon
make
was
it
about.
way overpriced.
Okay. Now, the next transhumanism is another one, and I heard, Little Game Fairy, you said that people will slowly, another thing that I think we should vote on, and we can vote on multiple facets of this, but first I want to ask, will people in 150 years be replacing organs with other parts that are able to augment their body? Are they putting things inside their body that are...
Augmented either with machines or genetically engineered parts, or Neuralace, or, will we augment our bodies?
We're sort of saying that's normalized.
Yeah.
And I want to include the brain. I think that's important, right?
Yeah, we're including
computers in our brain.
So you can get the internet in your brain or something.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
Why would I say no to bird food?
Wow. Okay, so no one.
Yeah.
That's great. That is optimistic.
Well, we're doing that now. I mean, we're already replacing. We already have pacemakers and artificial hips and knees. So
everyone wants it.
Does no one think it's going to be a possibility that it will rip us apart? Like you mentioned, there's going to be that tension. Like the people that aren't going to want to, go full transhuman.
Out, man.
You think we're just going to kill them all? Like, is there going to be a war?
Die. Like they'll literally die of old age, and then the next generation will be all for it.
All right.
Okay. So we're
have a Facebook.
Ghost in the Shell.
Everybody has a Facebook. And not everyone wanted one, but everybody has a Facebook. I think it's going to be the same.
I don't have a Facebook
I mean,
anymore. No, they don't.
Some people
anymore, but you got one.
But a lot of people.
You make a good point.
Okay. So it has been an hour, but I do want to get through a few more things. I think 3D printing. I think that's an important one. Does anyone have a thing that they want to paint in the future for 3D printing? Okay.
No, in 15 years, we're all going to be 3D printing everything.
Well, okay, but this will...
Wait, so... Yeah, go ahead.
This is related to the economy again. 3D printing will shift the nature of manufacturing such that there won't be the kind of centralized structures we have in place for making things. We will basically have what are they called in Star Trek? Fabricators or whatever.
Replicators.
Replicators that we can build all our own shit, and we can share we can share all sorts of designs with each other over open source, and we can just build all our own shit, so we're not dependent on all these commercial entities to do it.
Yes, let's vote on it.
Thumbs up if you agree.
All right, wait, countdown.
Did I do it?
Yeah.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, vote. Okay, all right. Some disagreement, but mostly, man, that's what I want to go for. Okay, so like nerd moment, I just recently like started my first job as a software engineer, and like the open source thing is amazing, and I'm really excited about it, and yeah, so like it's a good.
So I have manufacturing has completely shifted so that we can 3D print nearly anything. Is that a description that you? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we think that that's okay. What's next? Does anyone else have any burning future? Shani, you've had
artificial intelligence.
The next one, and Mimi.
Sarah had one comment.
Yeah, it was the previous. Don't worry about it.
Just on 3D printing, suggesting 3D printing body parts. Is that correct?
Oh, okay.
All
right, let's vote.
That'll be part. That's part of our cybernetics. Like we already voted.
We're already doing it. So
we're agreeing on it.
We agreed with transhumanism, and we're agreed with 3D printing, and so.
I'll add that to. I like that.
And things like that, right?
So I was saying, 3D print nearly anything, including body parts.
Exactly. Yes.
It's just not available.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was some other comment over there somewhere.
Zircon. Yeah.
I want to go last. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
So
was there somebody else over there by Taro? Or was it you?
Xerxes has a question.
We have artificial intelligence.
I just wanted to point out, I thought it was so interesting that people said that they thought, more people believed in, the 3D printing than they did in like democratized, the wealthy versus the rich when it came to the transhumanism or longevity. Once we solve 3D printing, the only thing that's stopping us from, living in a post-scarce society is, the distribution of the blueprints. If anyone can print off any sort of technology, that changes everything.
That's a really
I just thought that was interesting.
Still need
The resources, yeah.
All right.
So that's,
well,
I guess that comes.
Wrong.
We haven't.
We're just voting.
So we haven't gotten to universal basic income.
The limiter, by the way, is the resources. So yeah, you can 3D print everything, but you still have to buy the raw materials. So no, you're not completely independent. You're still buying stuff. You're just because we're not going to be producing those TCLs here. Yeah. So we'll be dependent upon manufacturers to create the raw materials rather than being independent.
Oh, you want me to say something about that?
Okay, Mimi has.
Okay.
Mimi has one.
Yeah. Mimi and I were talking about the whole post scarcity and longevity part of the problem, and we were thinking along the lines of, if you need materials, you need people to live a long time, and if you need to live a long time to manufacture these materials, like say metals, you need to go to the asteroid belt, and you need them to live a really, really long time to extract all those materials. So really, it's just a simple investment cost on people to live a long time to manufacture all these materials for you to make whatever.
Oh, so the reason poor people will have access to longevity related things is so that companies can have workers who are able to live longer to fetch the resources that the companies want.
Right. And then on top of it all.
Oh my God, I love that.
And then on top of it all, you want wealthy people want people to have this so they can pay for it for the rest of their immortal lives.
Okay, so let's vote. So the thing is, that's brilliant. I think that's so the idea that wealthy people will give poor people life extension related drugs so that they can work and produce things that the wealthy people want. We're gonna vote on that. Thumbs up if you agree, or thumbs down if you don't. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Interesting.
4, 5.
It's much cheaper just to make new poor people.
People don't think that's going to happen. Is there anyone present an argument?
Sorry.
It takes a long time to make a new poor person.
Yeah.
18 years is a really long time.
You can put them to work when they're kids if you roll back, labor laws and everything.
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, they're just not that useful.
So how are you going to phrase the AI question? Where are we going to put the threshold for that?
Yeah. So general intelligence is when And artificial intelligence can be used for a variety of purposes. So basically, you can put it like similar to a human. You can put it in multiple contexts, and it can still operate. So like the same general intelligence system will be able to read and comprehend a piece of text. It will also be able to look at images and recognize the shapes in those images. It will be able to, I don't know, usually though, like those are the main things. Like comprehending text is a big thing that we.
Is it basically that we want them, like, should we set it at we want them to basically be able to do anything a human could do, like be at least as good as us at reading and understanding? Or is that not the right bar?
I mean, personally, I think that'll manifest differently. Like, they're not going to be human-like, even if they can do everything a human can do. But yeah, they have the same level of cognition or the same like, capacity for comprehension that a human does. Let's put it at that.
At minimum.
Okay.
Yeah,
at least
yeah.
that good.
You want to trigger the vote for that?
Yeah. So thumbs up if you think that artificial intelligence in 150 years will be able to have the same minimum level of comprehension as a human. 3, 2, 1, vote. Okay.
Okay, I think we're just.
That was also
interesting. We're not
half and
fully
half
everyone.
almost.
I think it was a little
Yeah.
bit more upvote. I think I got.
Yeah, a little bit more upvote.
Just like
I
one
don't
or
know
two
if
hold that. I believe that artificial intelligences would be even more advanced than we are because they can learn much faster. You know, how long does it take you to learn a language? An AI could learn it like in a second and just download the whole internet.
Okay, so let's vote.
But for a computer to understand what that language is talking about, like if for an artificial intelligence to understand what a dog is, they have to understand what an animal is, what biological life is, what physical matter is, what physical space is. Like they have to have like layers of contextual understanding. It's not just about words, there's like they have to have the context of understanding that.
But I think
is
his point,
artificial intelligence going to know what those things are?
But I think the point is that like as soon as we get like that is a very complicated thing and it's going to be very difficult. But once it gets there, it's unlikely that I phrased it as setting human as like the minimum, but that's unrealistic, right? Like as soon as it's this bare minimum, it's going to be astronomically.
It'll be way better. Yeah, for sure. But it is getting to that point that is the difficult thing.
You're asking, will it be sentient or not? Will humans remain in control of a purely smart thing?
Should we ask if it's going to be sentient? Like, do we remain in control?
Sentient. Okay. Do we? Yeah.
Who's in charge in 150 years? Humans or machines?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
So.
like that question.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So thumbs up for
humans.
What humans? Okay. So okay. Who's in charge in 150
so
years?
Humans
Who's
going to rule our government? Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So thumbs up for humans. Thumbs down for machines. In 3, 2, 1. Oh,
those people that voted
down.
machine, do you feel good about that? I'm curious. Like, do you feel safe in the machine's arms?
Yeah, we do.
Or does that scare you?
Yes.
Yeah,
totally.
Well, it's
That's better than humans.
or a machine.
But they're already in charge.
Depends how we treat them.
Yeah, I mean,
but they're
maybe
but
some of
they're
us
not
are
like
already robots.
they don't make decisions is the thing. People still make the decisions.
Yeah.
But
algorithms.
Yes, but they sway your decisions.
There's
True.
switches.
I mean, yeah, but only at the behest of other people, like, because people are programming these things. And so, like, at some point, though, there'll be a switchover.
How would you classify uploaded consciousnesses running on large machines?
Oh, man, that's like a fusion number.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Well, I want to do that. All right, so let's do that. Do people think that there's going to be uploaded consciousness like the Abe Lincoln? I mean, honestly, at this point, I might prefer that to. I would take any past president uploaded onto a machine probably at this point. But if you guys think like thumbs up, that's going to be something that some kind of leadership might be like people are on machines in 3, 2, 1. Okay.
Oh.
I thought the question was going to be whether or not we were going to upload our minds.
Yeah, whether consciousness can be uploaded to a computer.
Yeah, well, that's
like, that
the
seems like
idea. Okay.
And I would say
yeah.
that it also has to. You have to have continuity of consciousness. Like, yeah, I want to do a full upload where it's still me, and yeah, that's all I care about.
Okay, so by
Not
conscious
above.
mind, so I'm just saying from this thing I've gotten, machines will most likely be running the government, potentially by conscious minds that are uploaded to computers. That's kind of what I've gotten
Oh,
from
you're
our.
bouncing
This is
again.
gonna be a mess.
I know, I
Could you
know.
imagine
Okay,
uploading
great.
all the politicians and leaders from like, a few centuries or
Hive
so,
mind?
load them all into a simulated environment, let them argue out and solve the problems at accelerated
God.
speed, and then have them come up with the results.
That's
I mean,
amazing.
yes,
I'm
that
adding
sounds
that.
ideal. That sounds amazing.
SimCity
Potentially,
49.
I'm gonna say
And
potentially
Trump will
running
tweet about
simulations of the
everyone
Man,
Constitutional
if we
Convention.
could put our Congress in a digital box and give them 10,000 years to work some of the shit out, maybe then they could get something done.
It wouldn't happen.
Don't let them know.
All right, bro, okay, so
We'll let them out of the box when they can learn how to compromise.
yeah. Okay, so we're coming to the end, or towards the end. I'm seeing it inside. I know Zircon has something that he wants to add. Are there any other
Taro did
kind
too.
of Taro?
Oh, Sarah's
Okay, are there any
leaving.
other final?
Bye, Sarah.
Bye, Sarah.
Sarah.
Because I have this paragraph, so I've been writing. After all of your democratic participation has led to a paragraph that I'm going to read at the end of this, so we just want to add the final couple points. So there's Zircon, but you say you want to go last, so is there anyone else who has a final thing that they're dying to, Wow.
I can just say on the last topic, I do think it's possible that we could manage to possibly get our minds into like a virtual, like a machine, but it's not going to be us. The continuity, as Nomina said, will not be there. We could make a copy of ourselves, but
It'll be their
I
short
don't
copy.
think it's, I don't think it's possible to actually like have you become a machine. You will die, and there might be a clone or copy of you on the machine, but it will not be you. Which means it's not very desirable.
150 years.
Your brain
That's my
cells
thought
one
there.
by one. Replace your brain cells one by one with nanotech-based ones that are artificial, and then allow your consciousness to be copied off of it.
I'm betting on that.
It's still a copy. It's not you.
That
Well, it's not.
reminds me.
Well, actually,
That's
not
my
even
thought.
copy.
Why isn't it
Transfer
copy
off,
you?
because now
Your
you can be
cells
in more
get
than one place at once.
replaced every so often.
We have
It's
Yeah,
the
let's
the-
vote
it's
on
that
it.
chip problem.
pure brain interface.
Yeah,
Ship of Theseus.
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, I like
So
that.
wait,
Replace
Hack-
one.
Yeah, wait, Hack
I mean, the
Spanner. All right, so
solution-
you have a come
maybe.
ask the question
Say
that we
that
can
again,
vote
Hack
on
Spanner.
about this.
Yeah, so in the 150 years, will we have a virtual reality that has no physical inputs? You put a wire in the back of your head, and you have all your sensory inputs provided by the computer.
All right,
I think I've seen that
vote on
somewhere.
that in 3,
Yeah.
2, 1. All right.
Somebody doesn't
Alright.
think we're gonna make it.
Yeah.
Ah. Well,
Okay,
plugging it into
I-
your brain, I feel like we're like almost there, you know? I don't know. I think it's inevitable, but we'll see.
Barely touched the surface on the brain.
We're in it right now.
Sure, but that we can induce. Pretty sure
So
we can induce
transport
visuals and
ourselves.
sensation.
So how do you say that? Like, how you describe? We'll be able to hook into VR and
Your
experience.
brain.
Just basically
So
the
we-
Matrix. It'll be the Matrix.
Experience the
Okay.
full dive
Okay.
technology.
So the VR. Okay, so VR is. Yeah, so we can escape into the. Okay. Cool.
I have a
Sorry,
quick
I'm just
question
trying
for
to,
Agent. Agent, you actually answered this question earlier. I'm just going to read you have a 1, 2, 3. One was improve ourselves beyond the bounds of human, be effectively transhuman. Okay. Number 2, continually become more and more machine. And then number 3, become the best machines in the universe. Now, why is that last step important? Like, why do we have to overtake the entire universe and be number 1?
Oh, that was honestly more of a reference to in Battlestar Galactica. There's a synthetic character who prides himself on that as a mission. He wants to be the ultimate and pinnacle machine, and has disdain and contempt for
Yep, I know
his
you're
fellow Cylons that want to be more human. They want to display overly emotional characteristics, or
I
they
sympathize with
see
that. I
right.
want that. I want
Yeah,
to be the best machine in the universe.
Cabal.
Cabal was his name. Yeah.
Oh, it is.
Ego. But like, we're not going to get there. Like, you have to give up that dream so that the rest of us can live, right? Like, if one person in the universe decides they have to be number 1, then there's a problem.
No, and he did actually mean it with villainous contempt, but I didn't. All that I meant was that continual improvement on our physiology, if you can even eventually call it that. If it continually becomes more and more artificial or synthetic, it's still improvement. You are becoming.
Too.
Just
I look at it like
I think we're
self-actualization.
thinking about this differently. Like, we as beings have not even scratched the surface of what it means to exist as awareness, as something that is conscious and existing in the universe, because we haven't even scratched the surface of what this universe is or what it's even made of. Like, if we can get past this point, the sheer scope of what is available for us to explore and become is going to be overwhelming. Like, we cannot even imagine or fathom what it is. Like, this goes far beyond something as petty as like being better than someone else. Like, this goes beyond reaching reaching into the universe and pulling ourselves into a deeper, more expansive version of reality and of who we are. It's so much bigger than
virtual
that.
reality?
Good luck with that.
Yeah,
Can you simulate
probably
that?
it will. I hope so.
I think we have to, because for resources' sake, we can't continue to keep growing and growing and growing, because that's you know, with entropy and everything. We have to kind of go within ourselves a little bit more to find those answers, I think.
Yeah, when you get really excited about that, like I feel
Dematerialization.
like there's only so much physical. Like, at what point can we turn inward and find and be able to accept ourselves and go in a different direction? What is it always going to be an outward? I bring this up because besides Agent, there was a bunch of people in the thing who their main thing was, we're going to go to space and then we're going to go throughout the entire universe. And it seems like that was the main thing. Humanity has to continue to spread. Like, that was like, my question is that the end goal? Like, is that our end game, that we keep going as much as possible?
Not just for the sake of expanse, but discovery.
The thing we can't write paragraphs about is the nature of what it is going to be to uncover ourselves on the inside, because that's not something that we can observe. We can talk about it amongst ourselves, but we can only observe it directly for ourselves. And then when we get to that point where we get mental tools capable of exposing us to ourselves in a deeper way, then that's going to be something that we can't really cover in the scope of this, because there's like stuff there we haven't found yet, and is not approachable through material means. So yes, and yes, I agree.
Okay. And that's really interesting too. I'm not trying. I just want to.
Let's wrap it up.
Trying to get us through. Yeah, but I think this is fascinating. Okay, so yeah, Claw, Zircon. I saw one here, and I have one last one too that I forgot to mention as well. So Claw, why don't you go?
Yeah, I just got a quick comment. I'm really looking forward to this new dimension that Popoplo speaks of, because I feel like in this higher plane of consciousness, the Knuckles will no longer exist.
The Knuckles will be within you. We will all be one.
Oh my God, yes.
Unless that's all it is.
It will
All
all
right,
be
are we-
Winkishin.
All right, I saw one
Are
last.
we-
So
oh,
Little Game Fairy, did you have one last thing before I have
No.
one, and then Zircon?
Oh, you might still be muted.
Barry, are you muted?
Am I taking up too much time?
No, go ahead.
We gotta hurry through this, but yeah, go ahead and go.
Okay. I think that the end goal is to stop the death of the universe. I said it before, but I think that's why we have to expand. We have to go as far as we can and as fast as we can so we can develop enough resources to stave off that. I don't think this is going to be a small project. I think it's going to be a project at least the size of a galaxy to either create a hole to another universe or to reverse dark energy. It has to be a massive galaxy or multiple galaxy-wide project.
Yes.
So we have to learn
to
how
do
to
that.
So okay, I want us to vote on that, because I think that's a beautiful. Okay, so the idea that we're going to continue to expand, to develop as fast as we can, and go as far as we can. If you across outside of the world. So
the point was to prevent the heat death of the universe, right? Like, the point is to go out so far, like the scope is so zoomed out that we will stop the universe from collapsing.
That is sort of beyond our scope. So like, we're thinking 150 years in the future. That's billions, and we have billions of years to do that. I mean, hopefully we can do it by then.
Yeah.
Okay. So 150
is-
years.
I mean, maybe we
It
can
doesn't make
start
sense
getting
for 150
along
years.
well enough to
150
think about
years,
it.
the game. Oh, sorry. In 150 years, I think it will be mostly on Earth. I think that we will mostly become a Type 1 civilization. That's what's in the next 150 years. Mostly Earth, Type 1 civilization.
Okay.
Okay,
and
so
that's what we're talking about. So, that's
can
fine.
we just
Thank you for
vote?
your input.
Because I like the last. I like having like a. I think this will be good at the end of it. So, do you guys agree with the idea that, in general, that our human species, maybe beyond 150 years, but just like I guess the direction of where we're going, that we're gonna try to go. We're gonna continue to expand and develop as fast as we can. I guess, or do you think we might collapse?
Well, we
or
already
kind of,
are.
Yeah, that's true. I guess the
trend.
question doesn't make. I'm just trying to end on an optimistic note.
Yeah.
Well, we're not ending yet. Zircon is ending.
True. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Zircon,
So we
let's
won't
go-
ask the question.
let's go last.
Okay. We'll ask the question. Then I have the last one. That I think is kind of important. At least I'm interested in it. So I'm gonna throw it out there. I think in 150 years, we are all gonna have automated therapists that use all the data we're creating from all these sensors and all what we're saying and everything like that we're going to continue to interact with. That's going to try to improve.
So we'll get to know ourselves better.
Yes, through AI.
Yeah.
Completely
I
AI
like that.
therapist.
Yeah, like
I still prefer
Psychopaths.
you
Hell
over
yeah.
AI though.
Yeah.
I love that show.
All right.
All
So
right. Thumbs up if you think that that's going to be a part of our society.
yes. 3, 2, 1.
Oh.
Okay. Cool.
All right. Great. Good.
Hell yeah, bring on Psychopaths.
Well, most of it. Some of it.
Minus the anomalous murderers. So I'm totally
Okay.
down with
Yes.
the guns that just make people explode.
Okay.
An issue as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I
so
want to
now
read this
are we on to-
paragraph.
No,
So
no,
yes,
no.
the
We're
last
not
one.
done yet.
I know.
Zircon.
So I'm saying now Zircon.
Okay, Zircon, it's time.
Well, this is,
You've
I
waited all
think
this
I
time.
think we'll find that this is the most important topic. I've watched a lot of Endgame. I've really enjoyed all of the conversations going on, and there's this one topic that's popped up from time to time, and it's been ignored. I want to know, in God's Earth, when are we going to do an episode on Teledodonics?
Certainly within
Yes.
150
Will we do
years.
an episode on
Yes.
Teledodonics
Yeah.
in the next 150
By
years?
150 years,
Yes.
will we have done
So
an
we're gonna
episode
do
on
it.
polydildonics?
If we can do an episode on IP, we can
Endgame
definitely
be
do
around
it.
in 150
All right. So what do you want? What's your statement for 150 years from now related to teledildonics? We have to have teledildonics in our
What is that?
future. So
We already
what
have it.
or what do
Oh,
we?
Internet sex toy.
Yeah, so using internet technologies and to be sexual with each other.
I think the question should be like, is that normalized? Like, is that considered just a normal everyday thing?
Yeah.
People are fucking
Well,
in
it's-
digital worlds, and it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
It's kind of a moot point because in 150 years, Teledodonics will be obsolete. Can we do next
obsolete
15 years?
I like Nomino's question, which is just normalizing the digital.
Yeah,
So
I like that
yeah.
question too.
So is the question that we're gonna, is it receiving it more than in person? That we've kind of shifted to sexual gratification from machines,
Or at least
Is
that we
what
don't
you're
see a
saying?
big difference. We're not, we
Okay.
can just say that it's in the same.
That it's completely
Yeah,
normal
like
to have
sex.
Okay.
Yeah, sex
That-
is sex regardless of how you're expressing it, and if that happens to be via machines or not. That's
Yeah, it gives
normalized.
direct
Okay, so-
interface a whole new meaning.
So we're voting. We're voting on we can have sex with a human or machine. It's completely normal either way, kind of thing.
It's sort of phrased differently than how.
Is that
but
how do you
okay.
want to phrase it? Give me a sentence. I've
Having
just been trying to
sex
write
with
this
a
down.
machine
I would like to.
isn't-
I would
Yeah.
like to phrase it that when we want to have sex with someone, we don't really mind who, what, or if it is.
Oh man.
Let's go.
I'll agree
we
with
should
that.
talk about that in our episode.
Okay.
I think let's just say, is teledildonics normalized to the point that it's very common in society?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Teledildonics is normalized. Let's vote in 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, of course.
All
Really,
right.
Taro? You're just kidding.
How do you write it?
Okay. All right, Stokel, do you have one last thing before we?
Yeah, I'm glad I
read
made
the
it in
paragraph?
time for the ending.
Okay.
Yeah.
First of all.
You're gonna hear the results.
One of the things that I wanted to bring up was human nature is such a very fickle thing. realistically, I imagine in 150 years, technology will still be advancing in that time, but humans as a species probably won't change much, and we'll still be squabbling. Countries will still be squabbling, and there'll be a lot of interconflict. Even now, there's a lot of conflict between countries. Things are building up, and it's evident even today that something will happen soon.
Well,
man, okay.
Well,
I would raise one thing I wanted to bring up.
Man, we should have ended on teledildonics.
Well, no. I think hold on. You're coming up. No. Well, hold on. I think Stokely, you came late, right?
Yeah, I just got here.
Okay, so you just got here. So this is the perfect time.
I was watching the stream though.
Okay, so I think this is the perfect time then to read what we have, and basically
we're just going to ignore your question.
But it's been
that's fine.
Yeah, it
Go ahead.
Because that contradicts some of the things we voted on already. So that's the issue, I think, a little bit. So I think we gotta. Okay, Catapult. Do you have one last thing to say before I read the And Stokely, I'll be curious what you think of our summary.
Just real quick, the one thing we didn't touch on, in 150 years, will we be able to tap into the human brain and use more of it? Right now, we're only using about 10% of its capacity. Kind of like in the movie Lawnmower Man and Lucy.
It's an urban myth, but I think that's part of our cybernetics discussion, though. Like, yeah, we're gonna like install technology that's going to help us achieve more things with our brain and connect to the internet with our brain and different things like that.
Yeah, it's a good point.
I think it's absolutely necessary. I need it.
Part of that.
My brain.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to know too.
Okay. So, is it time to read this?
Let's hear it.
Okay. I've also just been trying to write this while we're going, so it's not. But anyway, okay. So, we're going to survive or die trying. In terms of climate, our coastal cities will be flooded and will experience prohibitive weather on a daily basis. But we can escape into VR, which has now become the Matrix, and get therapy whenever we want from AI. We'll be dependent on blockchain and decentralized to manage our finances and economy, because infrastructure will be unreliable because we can't rely on the kind of centralized system we have now. We've just begun to fly to Mars regularly, doing things like vacations and mining. Just around the corner, maybe in the next few decades, we'll likely colonize Mars. Video chat with friends on Earth and internet will stretch through Ansible technology. So we'll be able to do that from Mars. And we will have technology that can prevent aging, but it will only be available to the rich until they decide to actually extend it to poor people so that they can mine things like resources and kind of take advantage of the fact that people can be in a job for longer than a normal lifetime. Augmented bodies with technology, including in our brain, will be normal for everyone. Manufacturing is completely shifted so that we can 3D print nearly anything, including body parts. It may be the case that wealthy people, provide life extension to poor people. AI has the same capacity for comprehension that a human does. Machines will most likely be running the government, potentially by conscious minds that are uploaded to computers. Potentially, those computers will even be engaged in thousands of simulations of things like constitutional convention, and we could have governments that actually work. And then, lastly, teledildonics is the norm. So that's the future that
Is there anyone who actually
100?
Does anyone 100% agree with that? This one final poll, like a thumbs up if you agree with every aspect of that.
Oh God.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, good.
That's the nature of a democracy, right? We're not all going
no
to
one's
agree.
happy.
We'll compromise with each other.
It's perfect.
Wow.
It's a perfect example of democracy. Nobody's happy.
That's all.
Yes.
All right, well, we'll chat back in 150 years.
Thank you
We should have a
for-
special episode then.
Thank you for collaborating with us on this world conceptualization exercise. I feel pretty. I like that paragraph. That sounds great.
It's
I'm gonna
cool.
take
I
it.
think I'll post it. Also, if you guys want to continue this conversation, we have a pretty active Discord where we talk about all this stuff. If you go to endgamevr.com, you can join that conversation.
What are some of the topics that are coming up, Psych?
So next week we're going to talk about Ready Player One, which hopefully
And we're going to
everyone will
spoil
have
it,
seen by
and
then.
we're going to talk about the book
Yes.
and the movie and what we think about how it's going to affect VR.
All right.
and everything.
Yes. Yes. And then we also have I have to get to the future topics.
There's working in the metaverse, performing in the metaverse.
Yes.
I think that might be the main two that are coming
and
up.
then also disability. So how the topic of disability in VR and how VR has changed people's lives or affected them. And yeah, I think that's the topic.
If you're interested in any of this stuff, join the Discord and start the conversation now. Share some links, get people talking about it, so we can get a jump start.
We have a channel for each topic that's coming up, so we can start discussing it with everyone. TCL, we can hear your keyboard still.
Sorry.
But so yeah, cool. Anything else before we wrap up?
No, we gotta do a big photograph. Is there anything else?
Yeah.
Let's do it. I can't think of a.
Let's do it.
Okay, Lau is hitting the switch, so we'll have everybody come up here in a second.
Do we do the music?
Oh yeah, here's some music.
Fade out music while we get ready for our.
All right, stage security should be off.
All right, everybody, small avatars in the front.
The year of Endgame. Yay!
I'm glad I made it for the picture again.
Yeah.
Yay!
Oh, well, it's been a year already.
It's been a year. One's in the back.
Yay! Wait, no money. You have to stand up so we can see you.
Oh.
All right, let's do it.
Move in front of me.
Maybe I have to go in front then. Saying that change.
See, so I'm
there's
just
no
gonna
limit.
come down here.
Stand under me.
Okay.
Oh, actually, give it a second.
Or the future. Oh, that.
For the future.
For the future.
For the future.
Yay! Thanks, everyone. Yay!
All right, goodbye, streamers.
Farewell, people. Until next
Thanks,
time.
everyone.
Amazing.
I was
That
one
was
of you
awesome.
streamers.
That's cool.
Yeah,
to hear
thanks,
your
everybody.
thoughts on the future.
Hey, Stoko,
I made it just to
I
be
didn't
I didn't
mean
think
to
it would
shut you
end that
down
way,
there.
but
We were just
No, I know.
like, we
I just
were at
wanted
the
to
end.